I think there'll be a lot of people upset with this show.
The politics of the last 6 years have been crazy and chaos, and you know, it seemed like, oh, what better way to sort of do a show about Washington than to make it about kids, you know, shrink them down and make it parallel everything that's going on there.
But there's only one thing left to do.
Spend the next few hours writing a really great song?
No. Design such an awesome stage show that no one will notice how bad our song is. It's a policy I call rock and awe.
It's recognizable. It's stuff that you say, yes, that, you know, it's that whole comedy coming from reality thing. You know, it's funny because it's true.
Surprise attack!
Some stories come out of the papers. I mean, there's definitely things that come out of that. A lot of it is it's about these little kids and screwing around. So a lot of stories come out of like, oh, what do kids want? They want to build a treehouse. How do they do it? They go to Iraq to do whatever.
Come on, gang. Let's Iraq and roll.
When you're dealing with a situation where you have a president with a 29% approval rating, I think you've got a built-in audience.
I think you're going to have half the people say,
this is an outrage. This man should be locked up, and
you know, all this kind of stuff. I understand that. I think that's great at this time. I think the show is just about politicians in general. I think it's about how everybody's stupid.
Well, John, I've never heard you so mad.
He should be. They are trampling on our constitutional rights.
It's not really right for me to just make Bush look dumb. I thought, I want to do that with everybody.
Pantsuit, Sure. Call me.
We try not to take sides too much. We do hit the Democrats as much as we do the Republicans. And I'm not going to say I'm blue or red at all. I'm not one color or the other.
I think anybody will like it, no matter what party you are for. It's really, really funny.
Putting Paris Hilton in jail. Come on!
It starts from the basis, obviously, of Bush and everybody around him, but then it expands out to sort of take on everybody. And it's not just political figures, there's pop culture figures that get drawn into it.
Political humor has sort of morphed into cartoons and comedy shows. Occasionally it leaves you with something to think about or makes you look at something slightly different way. I mean, I don't want to overdo it with this. It's not supposed to be teaching people lessons about anything. Number one, first and foremost, it's a silly cartoon.
Look at your little friend now!
But at the same time, there's many issues, and you can put it in and laugh about it. It also disarms people a little bit, and they go like, oh yeah, it's funny, and now we can kind of talk about it, and it's not as politicized.
Big shit hole.
The character of Lil Bush, the way that I've been doing him, it's George Bush's mannerisms and somewhat of his voice, a little dose of his voice.
I can't wait till I grow up and become a decider so I can decide where my pants go.
Somewhere along the way I probably said, well, let's just turn him up to like 11.
My bad.
Gosh dang, it's gonna take us all afternoon to put a positive spin on this.
Well, George Sr. obviously is not necessarily, you know, the real George Bush. It's more sort of a cartoon of half him and half someone else's impression. But, you know, he's almost Mr. Burns-ish in some ways. He's physically quite feeble.
Morning, sir. Hi, little George.
Condi's very, very sweet, and all she wants is for Lil Bush to love her. A lot of times she doesn't want to go with what the gang's going with, and they treat her just like one of the guys.
I am a girl.
Condi, are you with us or with the enemy?
Who's the enemy?
But she goes along with it because she loves the George.
George, are you illegally snatching my Noriegas in the middle of the night? Barbara Bush is the all-American, loving mother. Everything she puts up with, all the silly boys, the things that they do.
It's okay to hate someone as long as they're different than you.
Down, Jeb.
And then, of course, Jeb is, Jeb is the rocket scientist of the family. He's fun, though, because Jeb is always doing things like, you know, eating glass, falling off mountains, and, you know, kid stuff, things like that.
Jeb, go too.
Whoa, I draw the line at Jeb.
After a while, you start to really like the characters that you've created. Lil Bush is such an adorable little rascal. So it turns out to be all about the relationships and the characters and what they're really going through rather than just like straight up and down satire.
It is a smaller community because now everybody wants to do voiceover because they think it's easy. You just show up in your pajamas and talk. You don't have the physicality to rely on to create a character. Your mere presence there doesn't immediately create a character.
I'm sorry, little George.
The Lil UN isn't buying your case.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm gonna do then.
I think the best thing to do is to not consciously try to sound exactly like what you're imitating. You kind of have to inject some of yourself into it, because there's things that I do with the character of Lil Bush that I don't think that Bush really does, but they just seem to work on their own.
You get it? It's like a pyrotechnical type joke.
I love like little like one-off things though, just like, oh look, he's so cute, and stuff like that. So I don't know if I have a favorite. They're like children to me.
These are my dogs. Their names are of no consequence.
We're getting like great guest voices and there's great little music videos in each one of them.
Are you ready to rock?
It's interesting. This is a show that's like one part sitcom, one part like Little Rascals kids adventures, one part rock and roll band thing, and all cartoons.
Things really have a way of working out in the end. Wink. Make sure you watch Lil Bush. It's gonna be the greatest show ever. Because I said so.